Hello everybody, my name is Todd Heady with Head First Performance. And one of the greatest things about being an endurance athlete is all the information you can get out there. If you show up at a race, there's going to be all kinds of athletes who, if not obsessed, are at least very interested in the things that they do. And they're more than happy to share that information with you. So if you've got any question on training plans, heart rate monitors, they can usually share their information with you. The one thing you don't get from those people a lot of times is what you need to know when you show up at that first race. So I thought we'd do a series of videos talking about exactly those things, what you need to know at your first endurance event. The first thing I thought I would start out with was something very simple, bib numbers. People would think, well, what's so complicated about bib numbers? They just kind of give them to us. Well, bib numbers are really important, and a lot of people seem to think that, well, they're just a fashion statement. We'll wear them on our chest, we'll wear them on our back, wherever we want that we think will look the coolest. Well, that's not necessarily the case. If race directors are going to the expense of buying bib numbers, pins, making sure everybody's got the proper one, they've got a good reason for doing that. And some of those reasons include, one, as you think, the timing. And opinion is, well, we've got chip timing now, so the bib numbers aren't that important. Well, if you've ever had a computer crash, the same thing can happen with the timing system. It's all computer operated, anything's likely to happen. If in case of a catastrophe, every respectable timing company ought to have some kind of backup timing system. And every one of those is going to rely on that bib number to get your time as you cross that finish line. So it's very important to have that number, to wear it properly, and to make sure it's your bib number you're wearing. So what we're going to cover is how to make all those things happen. And of course the first one is how to wear it. If you're a runner, I can see no reason the bib number should be anywhere but on the front of your body. If it's on the back and you cross the finish line, if it is, somebody's going to have to use a backup timing system, they're going to have to turn away from the people coming towards them to get your number off your back. And in doing that, they're going to miss the next 2 or 3 people that they should be writing down or recording in some other manner. So if it's on your back, chances are you might not get a time if the timing system is messed up. Another thing to remember is if you've got one of these generic numbers, like this is 989, make sure if you've got a generic number, which is just the number, that you don't become 686 if you're 989. So at registration, when somebody tells you your number and when they hand it to you, make sure you wear it the way they tell you. If you've got one of the more colorful numbers that are custom numbers which have some words or something on it, that's usually not a problem. Another thing that comes up with numbers is they use them for identification. So if there's a photographer out on the course somewhere and he's getting photographs of you, a lot of times he can send those photographs to you through an email just by knowing what your number is. So if that number is not visible on the front, that's not going to happen. And God forbid, the worst case scenario, if you're involved in an accident or have a medical issue out there on the course, people need to see that number so they can identify you. In that case, they can't drag you to the nearest chip timing point to find out who you are. But if you've got that number and they can find it, they can call it in and find out who you are and contact other people if they need to, or whatever might need to be done from that point. When you get those numbers, people are going to be handing them to you at registration. Make sure, one, that if you're picking up packets for 4 or 5 other people, race management in most places should have a way of identifying who those numbers go to. Most larger races, you're going to have packets and everything's going to be well prepared and everything in there. In some smaller races, they're just going to hand you a bib number and possibly a chip. If that's the case, make sure that they have some system of writing the name on the number, or that you do so yourself, because if not, you get home, you start handing out those numbers to everybody and you don't remember who got what number. Well, neither does the timing people. So those chips are going to be recorded, or those numbers are going to be recorded based on the information they already have. And that's not only going to mess it up for the people you've given the wrong numbers to, it's going to mess it up for everybody else in the results also. So make sure you get the right number. when we say visible, that really becomes a point when the weather is going to change during the race. If you're going to start off with a sweatshirt, for example, and you think you're going to take it off, well, if you've got that number on that sweatshirt and you take it off, nobody can see that number. You can always wear your number on your shorts or tights a little lower. That way, if you have to take off a top layer, the number's still visible. The issue to remember with that is, if you do put your number on your tights or shorts and you take a sweatshirt off and you tie it around your waist, make sure you're not covering up that number just to really do what you meant not to do by putting it on your shorts. So as you can see, there's a lot of things with the bib number, but the most important thing is always visible front of your body. A few things that do change that, you know, in some cycling races, they want you to wear that number on your side so they can see it as you cross the finish line on your bike. Triathlon's also another big issue, because in most triathlons, the experienced athletes are wearing a race belt. And what that is, it's just a belt that the number attaches to rather than their clothing, so they can put it on when they get out of the swim, wear it on their back on the bike, and then spin it around to the front on the run. Problem with that is, most triathletes forget to spin it around to the front on the run. So just remember, the main thing with the bib number is, when the people at the finish line see you coming towards the finish line, they need to see that number and be secure in the fact that that number is your number. So that's all I've got to say about bib numbers, and we'll talk about entry forms next probably. Thanks a lot.